could often start with a phone call, maybe from a recognized number or area. It also could be an email that you think comes from a reliable, trustworthy sender. It could be scammers working to steal your money, your identity, your security. With scams occurring every day to unsuspecting people, getting educated and taking a few basic steps will keep you from becoming a victim. Today we have the opportunity to hear from FBI experts about scam prevention. SCTV is privileged to bring you this information courtesy of Securitas Chief Joe Schetting and his staff.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, great. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Joe Schetting. I'm the Chief of Security here, and I really want to thank everybody for... Okay, I can only scream so loud. I'm the Chief of Security here in Sun City, and we have some great speakers from the FBI talking about scams. I just want to do an introduction. To my left is Special Agent... Whoa! I don't want to get too close. Chris Garrett. And Agent Robert Cameron. And both of these agents work out of Charleston, and I can tell you that they're running low on sleep right now because they were working late last night. I'm very thankful that they're here today. To my right, I have Lieutenant Dan Allen. Lieutenant Allen works with Beaufort County along with Master Sergeant Bob Herlong. And I utilize these guys on a regular basis when it comes to helping out with neighborhood training for active shooters, scam presentations. As a matter of fact, Master Sergeant Herlong just helped us out with getting everybody on the staff in Sun City trained with active shooter training. So we're thankful for that. Why are we here today? The main reason why we're here today is obviously scams and what we're seeing in the law enforcement community. It's exploding. And I think if the people that are here today understand, scams are outpacing, they're outpacing small larceny thefts. People are, it's one of the largest financial crimes that are out there right now. I think if anybody reads the Island Packet, you would have seen that one of our residents, it was reported that they got scammed from text message. When I initially watched a presentation that Agent Garrett had put on, he's going to talk about text messages, unsolicited text messages, and what it can lead to, okay? Each year, billions of dollars are being lost to scams. That's the reason why we're here today. 30% of people that are scammed, on average, do not report the crimes. Out of embarrassment, they don't want their family to know, so it's an issue. The most important thing is, and for those of you that have heard me talk about scams before, is be vigilant. Be suspicious of emails, texts. These are the ways that people are getting into your bank accounts. So I don't want to tie up the FBI too much because I know that's why everybody came here to watch this presentation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Agent Garrett. And we are going to do a question answer at the end of the presentation. And Beaufort County is here as well for any local questions as well. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. As Joe said, my name is Chris Garrett. I am the, hold on, let me check. I always get my own title a little wrong. I am the supervisory senior resident agent. About 5 years ago, I wouldn't like that word senior in my title, but at this point, the gray in my hair kind of denies me and gives me away. All right, so a little bit about me. First off, he did ask for a bio that I would share with you guys, and then we got called out, and I worked until about 3 o'clock this morning on an incident that we dealt with actually here in your backyard in Hardyville. But just a little bit about myself. Before joining the FBI, I was an accountant in Tallahassee, Florida. After the 4th year of that, I realized I would like to see if maybe, just maybe, I could add a little excitement to my life. I logged on to the internet, applied to the FBI, and a year later, I was in Quantico, getting beat up by people that were much bigger, stronger, and faster than me, getting pepper sprayed. At the time, in 2005, I could not eat enough food to keep up with all the energy I was burning. About 5 years ago, that was a problem that I no longer had, and so now I have to eat less and move more so that I don't get bigger. My first assignment with the FBI was in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So for anybody that's not aware, San Juan is a lovely place to visit. It's also a very hyper-violent island with a lot of crime problems. I was there for 3 years, mostly worked on a domestic terrorism squad. If there's any FBI kind of historians or aficionados out there, one of our big targets was the former top tenor Victor Manuel Herena that did a armored car heist in the New Haven, Connecticut area back in the 80s. He was a fugitive that we were looking for. We were also looking for a number of other fugitives. And actually, right as my family and I were landing in Puerto Rico, there were riots in the streets targeted to the FBI because we had just gotten into a shootout with one of the members of the Macheteros, and we had killed him during a standoff. So the folks that were his supporters were not happy with our agency, and so there was a lot of interesting things that we kind of landed in when we were there in Puerto Rico. So I dealt with kind of the ramifications and of that for the next 3 years while we were there. I was fortunate enough, the way the FBI works is when you go to one of those what are considered hardship offices, think San Juan, Puerto Rico, think Guam, think many of our border offices, which are hard to staff offices. After you serve a certain time there, the FBI says, well, now you've done your time in this hard to staff office, you now have the option after a certain amount of time to pick certain places. When I first got to San Juan, the pick of these nicer locations was like New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, where they may be nice, but very difficult to survive on an agent's salary. But at some point, the shift in manpower within the agent population changed. And so as my options came to me, I had the options to go to Columbia, South Carolina, Mobile, Alabama, Richmond, Virginia, Birmingham, Alabama. I believe Las Vegas may have been the other one. I could not tell you guys how quickly I came to Columbia, South Carolina. My family and I were on a rocket ship to come here. I so fondly remember my family's arrival to Columbia, South Carolina. I'll never forget the white rocking chairs in the Columbia airport. And I'm like, we're home. This is my state. So that you guys know, since 2008, I've raised my family here. My children are from here. I have a daughter at Clemson University. I have another daughter that's about to go to Clemson University. My son is serving the Navy. He's just to the south of us in Brunswick, Georgia. I mean, not Brunswick, Kings Bay, excuse me. He's on the USS Wyoming there. We have loved our time in South Carolina. I'm sure there's a lot of people here that may not, they're transplants like myself. I view my time here in South Carolina as it's my job to protect not only, the people in my direct area of responsibility, which is the greater Charleston area, as well as the greater Hilton Head, Bluffton area, but my job is to protect the state, if not the country as a whole. I have dedicated my life to that. I am very proud of my service. I'm very proud of my coworkers that are with me, whether they be from the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, who we have an incredible partnership with, as well as my friends in the intel community. Robert Cameron is an intelligence analyst with us. I also want to share with you guys that I come here and I represent our special agent in charge. His name is Kevin Moore. He runs the FBI for the entire state. He is currently serving as our acting assistant director for the Human Resources Division in Washington, D.C. There's been a tremendous amount of turnover in leadership ranks within the FBI over the last year and a half or so. I'm listening to all you laughing. Keep it. Always listening, always watching. Anyways, I'm going to talk a lot about scams today. But I've been in the state long enough to have touched on almost every major FBI investigation here since 2008. I I have the good fortune, I didn't know this was going to happen. One of my former coworkers is in the audience. He was our former administrative officer. So that's a long way of saying I am home with you guys. And I find it my duty to protect you guys. And when Joe asked me, did you want to do this presentation at Sun City? I think my answer was yes, very quickly. All right, so we're going to talk about some things, and we're going to use some terminology that may not sound so nice. You see this term pig butchering, right? It doesn't sound nice. I want you guys to think for a second. Who are the pigs that we think that maybe we might be talking about today? Yeah, it's you. It's you that has that 401k that might be 6, 7 figures. It's you that has the pension. It's you. You can't hear me? All right. How about now? Better? All right. Sorry about that. I can project my voice pretty well. I can't go all the way to the back of the room without the microphone. No, it's you. And I don't like this term necessarily, but I think it should shock you a little bit. But there are very sophisticated organizations. They are now internationally based. So if any of you were in law enforcement 10, 15 years ago, you did not see in your life, your work life, what we are seeing now. The level of sophistication behind these scammers is extremely high. They are using information that previously was not out there. A lot of us that are now, even if you're in your early 60s, you have now been in the social media world for the last 15 to 18 years. Some of us are very freewheeling with what we put on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whichever social media application you want to talk about. But these bits of information, there are people that are harvesting that, and they are looking at you specifically. They may know who your grandchildren are. They may know what your grandchildren's situation is. They may know what your likes are, what you're interested in. They may know what your religion is. They're going to know your ethnicity. They're going to know, and they're going to try and attack the thing that you are sensitive about. And what many people are sensitive about, especially as we get into our advanced years, and if we have lost our companion, our spouse, or what have you, and now we're living alone, they attack matters of the heart, okay? And so please, as we go through this, think about your own situation, think about family members, think about people you may know, and please, if there's one word I want you guys to leave this presentation with, it's going to be speed. Because if you have been victimized in one of these scams, if you know of someone that is currently being victimized or has been victimized, the key is speed. I have a lot of challenges as the FBI supervisor reacting to something. If someone says, I met somebody online, never really met them in person. I thought they were in love with me. They were a Nigerian prince. They told me I'd won the lottery. I was a new millionaire. I just had to send them $20,000, and I was going to win my lottery, and he was going to come visit me, and we were going to, ride off into the sunset. And I say, well, again, when did you wire that money? Oh, I sent that money back in November of 2025. So just imagine how quickly things move these days. Like, we go back 30 years ago and you did a wire transfer. It took a minute at the bank to do that. They even had like those old sliding things to document what was going on, and there was kind of hard copies of things. Now imagine how quickly $10,000 can go from your bank account into a crypto wallet, into a country that is not friendly with the United States, certainly not friendly with the FBI, and they may not want to cooperate with us. And so now your money, for us to get it back, is almost impossible. So speed, if that's one thing, we'll get back to that here in a second. We'll talk about speed a little bit more, but speed is the thing. The other thing too, I hate to say it, we are all the piggies. If you're making a piggy sound in your head right now, please, I am also a pig. They would love to get me, right? Like somebody that has worked their entire life, patched together a 401k, patched together a thrift savings account, patched together a pension. They are looking for you and ways to get all of your money. Next slide, please. So when we mention pig butchering, we are typically talking about an international cryptocurrency investment scam. It typically has what I talked about before, that socially engineered layer, whether it be a confidence scheme, a romance scheme, something where they're attacking something that you like. Maybe it's your grandchild that they know is having legal troubles and they're scaring you into paying something. Maybe it's not an investment scam, but it's some other scheme to take money away from you through fear, but they socially engineer the scenario. They target victims on dating apps. So if you guys are on dating apps, watch your back. You may be talking to somebody that's not real. What are some quick ways? Real quick, I'm going to ask questions to the audience. What is a quick way just to find out, are you talking to somebody real or not? Give me just 2 or 3 ideas real quick. Okay, the nice young lady up front said a live conversation over the phone. What do these phones have these days? We have video chats, right? We're talking to each other on a dating site? Oh, you know what, why don't we video chat for a second? Yeah, let me see you. And then if the answer is, I can't do that, you got a problem. That's a red flag. Yeah, my phone's broken. Forget that red flag, move on. Please, remember, speed. Get out of that. Just run away. Just run away. Find somebody that's real. Talk to them on the phone. See them on a video chat if you can't meet in person. That's a quick way to maybe avoid some of these problems. Also, the slide says that the scammers exploit the relationship and manipulate victims into investing in a fraudulent cryptocurrency project. It did start in China. At this point, these schemes exist through a myriad of different countries. And yes, the financial victims, typically us here in the United States, but also the victims that are back behind. I don't know if you guys have seen, I think we'll show one of the slides here. If you've seen someone at a wall and there's like 40 cell phones and they're just casting a wide net, pinging and talking to people all over the place. Well, those people are typically in like a call center-like environment, but maybe not working under their own free will. I think a lot of these folks have agreed to take a job, like they see a flyer, oh, hey, work here at this call center in, this far-to-reach country, go see the world, blah, 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 and next thing they know, they're stuck in a position that they don't want to be in either. The people that actually profit from this are very small. It's a very small cabal of folks. It's not typically the person that you're actually interacting with. I want to take a moment and actually share with you guys kind of my first direct interaction with this so that you guys know. First victim that I ever dealt with, ethnically Chinese. She came into our Charleston office and started describing an interaction where someone reached out to her on Facebook from a similar, I think maybe from the same city in China, but one of the cities in China that's very large and millions of people, and they struck up a friendship online. Okay? She strikes up a friendship with this person online. Then it turns into, hi, I see you're a business-oriented, business-minded person. I have some investments in cryptocurrency that have done well for me. And so now you have that, what he has, or he or she, you have the subject that has developed this kind of friendship, this social relationship that's given that person the confidence to now invest a small amount of money. And so he convinced this victim to invest $4,000. What she did is she invested $4,000, and then he also had her install an application on her phone, and it looked, when she showed it to me, I looked at that and said, I've been in law enforcement for a long time. I'm a former CPA. I would not necessarily right off the rip think that that is a fraudulent application. It looked really, really good. How many here, show of hands, how many here have used Robinhood or some other similar investment application on your phone or laptop? Okay, not a lot of you guys. So if you've ever heard of the Robinhood application, it looked a lot like that. So she invested $4,000. After a couple of weeks, her investment grew from $4,000 to $8,000. So she was really excited. She was like, yes, I made a lot of money. And so then, right, that's the little hook in the fish's lips. And then the big hook came in. Well, look, you made 100% on what you just invested. If you really want to take a stab at it, you can make a lot more if you invest everything. She then invested $900,000. And that was over a series of, I think it was a chunk of $500,000. And then they told her, well, if you pay another $20,000, we have to pay lawyer fees. And then it grew and ballooned ultimately to $900,000. She didn't report this to the FBI until months afterwards. And at this time, this was 4 years ago and a few months ago, before this presentation had even been created. And so we started looking into it. And the very thing that I was telling you about, could not recover her money. We were able to recover and trace the steps of things that happened to her. We had to push that case to our FBI Miami office to work. But again, I am now sitting with someone whose life was stolen from them through a scheme like this. The sad story is I have dealt with, as a supervisor, a victim like this about once every other week. This week, we learned about a potential victim here in Sun City that lost $300,000. Last week, I learned about a victim that lost $1.6 million after she sold her house in Mount Pleasant and gave it all away because she was in love with someone that she met online, that she had never met online, really, right? If you think this isn't happening, it is. It's a huge problem for us. We do not really have the resources to handle all of these complaints because of how much time it takes to trace the moment someone sends a wire to someone they don't know, and especially if it's in a crypto type of wallet, it then bounces very quickly, boom, boom, boom. Then it may bounce from the United States to Spain to a country in Asia, then back to another country, and then finally it lands in cash in somewhere else. And so if there's 2 or 3 countries that we don't have treaties with, that we are unfriendly with, that tracing what I just described in 10 seconds takes us a very, very long time to do it legally. I don't know, I'm gonna kick it over, I'm gonna put you guys from Beaufort County on the spot. Tell the crowd here how much capacity you guys have to trace international wire transfers like I just described.
Well, of course, he's talking about the federal agencies, right? We rely on them. Depending on what's coming in, and like he said, speed and everything else, we want people to let us know as early as possible what has happened and what has occurred. But this can quickly get totally out of our hands. And so from our standpoint, it may actually be the initial report, but then even we are reaching out to our federal agency for assistance, and also through the state, through SLED for assistance, because this can quickly get out of our hands as well when you're dealing with suspects who are nowhere near where we are, and that money is going wherever it may go to. So yes, this is much bigger than just any one agency. This is much bigger than just what your local entities and even your state and even federal agencies can deal with. And we're talking about one case when this is actually, when you have one, you have several other ones going on at the same time. And so that can stretch the resources quite a bit. So yeah, we're all in the same boat.
And just to give you guys some perspective, all right, I oversee the Low Country FBI office. I have about 2 total FBI agents that I can have working on cases like this because of all the other things that we have to deal with here in the Low Country. Got to remember, we got military bases here, we've got violent criminal gangs here, we have major drug distribution organizations that are here and all around us. So I can't just dedicate to this one thing, and I would need a lot more to do that. So there's a little bit of that going on as well. I want to give a little time to my coworker, Robert Cameron, who came with me. Robert is the intelligence analyst for what we call our fraud and illicit finance threat for the state of South Carolina. I want to give Rob a few minutes, let him introduce himself, and also let him kind of walk through actually what we've developed over the last year, because Rob has developed a certain expertise in, okay, we now have a victim that just reported in Beaufort that they lost $300,000. Now Rob has become very well versed at, now let me go through all the different FBI systems to see, is there already a larger investigation taking place targeting this group so that we can push this information to them and be as efficient as possible. Rob, take as much time as you want.
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for having us. It truly is an honor to come out to actually speak to you and hopefully have a little bit of impact to stop, some of the things going on right now, stop a little work for us. But there's a lot going on right now, and you'll be inundated. As you said, I'm an intelligence analyst. I've been with the Bureau for about 20 years now. Just actually, April was my 20 year. I had about 30 years in the intelligence community. Sorry. A little bit better. So I've been in the Bureau for 20 years now as an intelligence analyst, working initially in international terrorism, then weapons of mass destruction, and for about the last 10 years working on the fraud side of the house, the white collar piece. And I've settled down here in Charleston, much like Chris, decided to raise our family here. My wife is also in the FBI, and we really enjoy it, and we really hate to see these people coming in, people much like yourselves, that were enjoying life and then realized what has been presented before them was all fake. And they're very good. The people that do this are very good. As Chris alluded to, and he'll get probably a little more into it, it'll start with a simple text or an email from someone unsolicited and you respond. Or you might get it from your bank. And next thing you know, you're calling that phone number on the email or the text. First, don't do that. Do your own research before you make any calls. Also, pause. Because oftentimes they're going to put a lot of pressure on you to move quickly. It'll say well, you have 24 hours to react. That's where you have to pause. And once you get involved, they will surround you with different people through phone calls, emails that look very official. It'll look like it's coming from the IRS, from the FBI. They'll use real names if you research those names. So you have to think about, am I seeing real? We're not going to request money from you on a card, or no law enforcement is going to tell you to use a card payment to them. So we've all been instilled with these ideas of what's going on to respect law enforcement, and they're going to use that. They're going to use the fact that you trust your bank to tell you what's right, how to fix things. And they're going to build this wall, and then they're going to isolate you and say, well, don't reach out to the bank, because there might be an issue internally in the bank, and so we don't want you talking to them because they're part of the fraud. Or don't talk to that FBI agent that really called you because he's just trying to steal the case because this is really good. But we're going to help you. What I need you to do is empty your bank account, and they're going to be better about it, but they're going to say your bank account has been wrapped up in a criminal enterprise, or we believe you're the one involved, but now we're seeing it's not you, but we need to secure your money so it's not lost. So I need you to go out and buy gold bars, and you can do that online. And once you have them, I'll let you know what to do. They'll contact you. They'll give you specific instructions. They may even give you a password, because they're going to have somebody come by to your house and pick it up, and they'll tell you, when this person comes up, they're going to say blue, and you have to respond green, and you know it's a secure transaction. And you'll get all this money back once we figured out the fraud that you're involved in or somebody else, but we're going to keep it secure. And once they drain you of everything, they just disappear. And what they also rely upon is you being afraid to tell your family members or anything like that, because they're isolated you. So if it happens to you, and I always say, I've worked this for so long, I'm going to retire even now. I'll get caught in one of these schemes because they're very good. And with the technology going on, they can make videos that look real. They can clone voices that sound like your relatives, maybe grandsons, granddaughters asking for help. So you have to pause is the biggest thing I can tell you. When people are asking for money in a rush, pause. And hopefully I didn't go too far into Chris's spiel, and I'll probably stop now so I don't. But afterwards, we do have a couple of handouts up here, let you know some of the schemes, and then also available to questions as well. But I'll turn you back to Chris. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert. So the next slide, it's some of what we've already talked about. I want to take a moment, right? We've already talked about, thank you, sorry. We've already talked a lot about the social media applications and the dating applications. Another caveat I would add to this is if, right here, if someone is driving you to communicate in a way that you're not familiar with, whether it be Signal, WhatsApp, Trima, whatever the flavor of the day is, right? Rob just said something very important. I said something earlier, speed. Speed, once you think something's gone wrong, slow as molasses to let your money go. The moment you let your money go, or some piece of information about you, now that's out, right? You don't control that anymore. So be super slow when it comes to personal data, money, take your time, maybe even phone a friend. Remember you got that show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Call somebody else and say, man, am I crazy? I'm talking to somebody online and this and this and this is going on. Joe, he works here. He might be able to walk you through, like actually 2 other people just got scammed through the same thing. So go really slow when it comes to releasing your money. If you think something bad happened to your money, now your roadrunner go really, really fast. But this whole thing about using different applications or different methods of communication that you're not comfortable with, you control that. Don't talk on something that you don't want to talk on or you don't feel comfortable with. And then that might help you control the situation going forward too. Obviously, I haven't seen a lot of introductions that have been in person. The things that have happened in person recently is a new flavor to this pig butchering scam, and that has been over the last 2 years, the in-person deliveries of things that are hard to trace, like gold, cash, or jewels. My first experience actually with someone handing over gold to a scammer was here in the Hilton Head area. They bought $150,000 worth of gold coins and were convinced to hand it over to a stranger and never to be found again. Even in today's technology, apparently if someone drives a white Toyota Camry, shockingly, Toyota made more than one white Toyota Camry. And so not as easy to find. All right, so on this slide, we've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about the approach, right? That initial kind of invite comes in through social media, that building of the trust. So what I want to take a brief second here is, again, this has changed a little bit over the last 1.5 to 2 years, where it may not be the crypto scheme that they're encouraging you to do, but now they're encouraging you to turn over something physical. And so I'm going to ask a question to the group. Why do you think these scammers, as sophisticated as they are, why do you think they want people to buy gold, of all things, and turn it over? Any thoughts to that? Okay, I heard the consensus. It's untraceable. Even though I've talked about how hard it is for us to trace all of these different monies going back and forth, I actually think we have gotten pretty good. Our friends in India are all about knocking off these call centers and squashing some of this stuff. So these bad guys, these are not, again, they're sophisticated. They've made adjustments. And they had this aha moment. If we can convince people to give us a bar of gold or several bars of gold or several coins of gold, the FBI is going to have a dickens of a time tracing that. There is no, obviously it's not electronic, right? We can't trace it. It's not, there's no serial, there might be some serial numbers, but it's just not something that's easily traced. Once you hand that over, again, if you are handing a box of gold to somebody, slow way down, please. So we had one incident like that in Hilton Head, and then from that one incident in Hilton Head, we have now had, I want to say, about 10 separate ones throughout the Charleston area. Again, we had someone in Mount Pleasant hand over about $1 million worth of gold. That's their retirement. I had the good fortune, war stories here. I had a gentleman living by himself, and he came in. He's like, I've had some kind of health problem in the last week. My memory's really foggy. And he goes, I think I sent $4,000 to somebody that was ripping me off. And I'm like, okay, $4,000. So again, a teaching moment. The FBI, we can't really open an investigation on a $4,000 loss. It's just not enough money in the federal system. And so I'm thinking, okay, it's just $4,000. The more we talked, his memory kind of started jogging. And he goes, I think it was $400,000. So I switched gears real quick and started taking a lot more notes. But here's where speed came in. And he was able to remember, he's like, I think I did it 2 or 3 days ago. Then we could drill down into, where's this gold at? He's like, I don't have it yet. I've ordered it from this gold company in Texas. And guess what we were able to do with that? Put a stop on everything, right? And so saved this guy's family $400,000. The gold company in Texas pulled back that shipment that they were going to make to him, got his daughter involved in the whole scenario so that she could help protect her father, who was clearly going through an illness issue. We've had some victories. We've had a lot of losses, but we do have some victories. That's where speed came in. And so even though we're saying here crypto scheme, just think crypto / gold bar, gold bullion scheme. These are very real things. I can almost guarantee you that there are multiple people here in this community that have given away crypto or gold bars or gold coins, and they haven't admitted it yet. So that's another factor I want you guys to kind of think about, right? You guys are here because you want to hear what the FBI has to say. There's probably a lot of your neighbors that may be a little quieter about their situation. And let's talk about the why, right? If you are advanced in age and maybe you're living in a house by yourself, maybe you do not want your children to know that you just lost a lot of money for a variety of reasons. And maybe one of those driving factors is you do not want to go into a different kind of home other than the home that you live in. That is real, I understand that, but please, again, if you are in this scenario and something's going on, or if you know of somebody, please report it as soon as possible. That's really the key in all this. Okay, we talked about the text messages. Take a second, and I want to show of hands who has received a text message close to the one that says, "Hey, how are you?" Put them up high. Put them up high, way, way high. Okay, I'm seeing around maybe 50% of the audience. I think when I did the presentation to the security directors, about 80% put their hands up, but we were a bunch of middle-aged men, and they know their target audience really well, right? And it comes with the picture of the attractive female, and maybe I'm lonely, and I say, "Hey, how's it going?" Well, do not engage. Obviously, this person is saying wrong number, sorry, no problem. But there's all kinds of trouble that can come after this initial text message. Some of it may be a link. Now you click on a link, and now it's embedding malware, spyware, all kinds of things into whatever device you're on, and now you may have big problems after this. So again, if you do not recognize that contact, if you do not know who that person is, there are some quick ways to figure that out, even if you just want to do it by text. I enjoy, if I get a message from somebody that I know, but I'm like, I haven't heard from this person in a long time, sometimes I just ask the question, "Oh, hey, nice to see you. Hey, remind me how we met." Because that's not something that's going to be out there really, right? And if they can't answer that question about how we met, that's clearly a scam or some kind of spam or something that's there to damage me. But again, take that time and work through that. But again, look, about 50% of the audience has received this text message. We talked a little bit about the human trafficking element to these things. Again, the vast majority of the people that are sending that text message or behind that screen, they are not getting wealthy. They're not super powerful. They're not, maybe not even the enemy. They may have been coerced or tricked into doing this job themselves. We talked a little about traveling to another country where the passports are taken and held in a compound. I've seen pictures of these compounds. I'm not sure that this may be just a stock photo, but I've seen pictures of these compounds go from what looks like kind of a normal office building to a much larger compound with multiple buildings, which would probably house hundreds of employees. So that's who you're up against, right? We're living here in Sun City, beautiful day outside, you're golfing, life is good. You don't even realize that there are tons of people targeting your pockets. As noted here in the slide, these compounds have been located in Cambodia, Laos, Burma, and Thailand. I'm not sure about the mutual assistance treaties that we have with each one of those countries. I can tell you it's not as friendly as we would like it and not as fast as we would like it. Maybe Thailand, I think we have a good one with. I'm not so sure about Burma and Laos. They have these are corporations. It's almost like, I almost equate it to when we talk about combating drug cartels, I tell people, you think you're combating maybe these criminals in the street. No, you're combating a billions of dollar a year corporation that has the same type of assets that IBM, Boeing, and Delta has. They have tons of resources, these drug trafficking cartels. Well, these same scam cartels, these same criminal organizations, you're combating a very sophisticated, big corporation that has a lot of resources. They're just not legally incorporated. And yeah, the compounds have the barbed wire, the bars on the window, very tight security. And some of the victims have been threatened with lack of food, violence, and moving to other compounds where they're less familiar. Okay, so what are some other things to be on the lookout for? Structuring transactions under exchange limits. So here in the United States, that would be a series of transactions under $10,000. If someone is asking if you have a friend of yours that's all of a sudden doing a lot of transactions at the bank, but they're in $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 increments, or if someone's asking you to do that, huge red flag, something's wrong. Either you should do the whole transaction and disclose what's going on, or take a second and take a pause. Depositing and withdrawing cryptocurrency often immediately and in near similar amounts without some type of exchange activity. So quick exchanges, lots of activity in crypto wallets. I would also say a lot of cryptocurrency activity with someone who's not familiar with it. I can tell you guys a success story of investing in cryptocurrency real quick. My brother-in-law made like a ton of money investing in something called Dogecoin a few years ago. He's the one success story. I know a lot of people, some people that have invested in Bitcoin have done pretty well. Everything else, a lot of this other, even Bitcoin, if you kind of drill down to what is it, it's not like Delta Airlines where they own a bunch of airplanes and they own a bunch of business. When you drill down what Bitcoin is, it's a lot of speculation. And so the floor is zero. It can anything you invest in any of this stuff can go right to zero. But at least Bitcoin has some sort of, at least people have as a culture, we've been using it. So maybe there's some legitimacy there. Maybe. I can't vouch for it really. But this other stuff, these other coins, stable coins, what have you, I think it is rife and almost habitually touched by fraudsters. Again, going back to cryptocurrency exchanging, if they are pushing you to do crypto business with multiple wallets and multiple names, and maybe it's the same name, but it's Shangji 1, Shangji 2, Shangji 3. Guys, we're right in the middle of a fraud. And then cash deposits to financial institutions with no legitimate purpose, with incoming and outgoing wires to some type of crypto exchange. We call some of this stuff money mule activity too. So they may have, a lot of times they will have victims. Maybe they're not sending gold, but maybe they are actually wiring real money to another American, but that other American has been convinced to curry funds in exchange for other things. And so they've been convinced just to be what's known as a money mule. Again, other indicators. If a large amount of money is coming into your personal checking account and then moving out the same day, or a business account. High frequency deposits into personal bank accounts from unrelated senders from all over the country or all over the world. Another one, people unwilling to talk about their relationship, the source of funds, what the business activity is. I actually had a family friend of ours call me. She's like, please don't tell my daughter, but I think something's wrong. And I was like, yeah, well, okay. Well, I'm going to listen to you. So I'm going to call your daughter right away, ma'am, because she's going to be the one that has to take care of you on this, because you can't keep getting victimized at $10,000, $20,000 a pop. It's just too much. Your finances can't handle it. And it's your daughter that's going to be the one that protects you. But again, why, and forgive me for, I'm talking quickly now because I know we're sorry about that. I'm butting up against the time monkey's on me. Anytime someone is telling you not to tell other people about something, especially when it comes to your finances, that should be a huge red flag. And multiple accounts under different names or businesses. All right, the next kind of group of things, and the big one I want to touch on is these cryptocurrency kiosks, also known as Bitcoin ATMs. If you don't have any reason to do business in the Bitcoin ATM, don't. They are just little fraud incubators. They are just receivers of victim money. I don't know what other reason they really serve. That's the only thing I can come up with. Again, multiple cryptocurrency exchange accounts, shared withdrawal addresses across different cryptocurrency kiosk accounts, and different people making purchases of cryptocurrency at these Bitcoin ATMs. Fun fact, the state of South Carolina was one of the largest per capita locations for Bitcoin ATMs in the United States. Guess what we also have a lot of here in the state of South Carolina? We have a large senior citizen population, guys. That my first theory was I was like, well, maybe it's because marijuana is illegal here and they're buying it and sending the Bitcoin into California. Nope, it's just to victimize people. That's the only real reason that we've come up with. Okay, a couple of resources that we have out there. They're longer reads if you really are interested. The Attorney General's Digital Task Force on Cryptocurrency. There's a FinCEN advisory on illicit activity involving convertible virtual currency. There are a lot of those resources out there. My friend Robert Cameron brought some handouts. Now, we don't have enough for everybody, but we have several of them. If there's anything that interests you, we have those resources available for you as well. Again, this is virtual assets from September 2020. I would suggest this one on the side here from 2020. Find something more recent. In 6 years, everything has changed. But there are resources out there. And then this whole presentation, let me go back. This whole presentation was actually put together through our virtual assets unit in DC. It is a fusion center essentially between the FBI, the IRS, the Secret Service, all of these different federal agencies that have connectivity to these types of schemes that are damaging our country so deeply. We recognize that it's going to take our own kind of very complex, sophisticated response to these networks to combat them. So one thing I will leave with you guys. My promise to you is if you have been victimized or know somebody, I'm going to listen to you. I'm not going to ignore you. I may not be able to rescue your money, but we are going to do our best to rescue the money, and we're also going to do our best to bring people to justice if that is within our power. I also want to thank you for allowing me to talk so quickly. I've kind of sped up my pace because it's almost 2 o'clock already. But I also want to thank you guys for your individual time in coming out. We are going to open the door. Actually, I'm going to turn the time over to Joe because I know he sees way more what's going on in this neighborhood than I could ever see. And I know he want to talk about how we can kind of apply this to the neighborhood, to Sun City. But also, I'm going to stick around for a while and answer any question I can from you guys. But other than that, from my part, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being patient with me as the microphone goes away and everything. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And Chris touched on something that I think is important to Sun City, and I talk about it a lot at the neighborhood meetings I speak at, some of the board meetings I've been to, which is, you know, even though Sun City is a very large community, each neighborhood, we usually all know one another, and it's important that, like for instance, I say, if you see a garbage can that's out at the end of somebody's driveway for 2 days, call security. We'll go and take a look. And it's not that you're reporting a community rules violation, it's a welfare check. We want to know that that person is okay, especially when the person's down there 5 minutes after the garbage truck comes, picking up their can. So when you see things that are unusual, we want them reported. It's the same thing with what Agent Garrett was talking about with when you see and hear things that are unusual. Somebody's talking about withdrawing money because they got this great deal going on. These are things that, by the way, have been reported to me on a regular, frequent basis. I mean, the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office, I'm constantly talking to them about different reports of things that are happening within Sun City. A common, the NRs, I'm sure there's some NRs here, I think I saw a couple already. NRs will call me and say, Joe, one of my residents, they have a family member coming down, they want to spend the winter down here, and there's a house for rent for $895, and it's a 3-bed, 2-bath. What do you think about that? And I look at him and I go, well, actually, I'm usually on the phone, but I'll say, let me look that up. And I'll go onto the internet, go to Zillow, and sure enough, the house either sold a week ago or they just put it on the market. And what these scammers do is they just take that information, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and they just change it to a rental, and they make it too good to be true. Again, what the FBI talked about, sense of urgency, speed. They want to, and I said at all the meetings I talk about, when it comes to scammers, there's always a sense of urgency, whether it's a family member, whether it's your bank, a credit card, your computer's been hacked. These are all things that we need to be aware of. And when that's happening, to just hit the reboot button and say, wait a minute here. If this is my bank sending me an email or a text message, you know what? I'm not going to answer this. I'm just going to call my bank directly from the number on the back of my card. And that's typically what we try and tell people. Listening to things that people are saying. You know, even in my own family, one time somebody was talking about, you know, on Facebook, how, you know, I get friend requests all the time from people, you know, over in Africa. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? You know, that's a red flag for me to say, I need to be aware of, you know, what's happening on that account. You know, Beaufort County could tell you, probably 50% of all the scams that are out there are on the social media platform. That's where they're getting a lot of money from. But like I said, in Sun City, it's important that we all take care of one another. And when somebody sees something, that they let the person know you may be a victim of a scam. It doesn't hurt to contact Beaufort County, Hardyville, depending on what side you live on. And if you don't feel comfortable calling law enforcement, you can contact me down at Security. I'm more than happy. I get phone calls, you know, several times throughout the week on, what do you think about this, Joe? What do you think about that? It's interesting, Agent Garrett brought up, you know, for law enforcement officers that retired within the last 6-7 years, they don't know a lot about scams. And he's right. I mean, I know a lot more about scams than I really want to, because we deal with it so often. But I can tell you, when I was in law enforcement, and I retired 11 years ago, identity theft was just coming out. That was something that we were trying to learn about. Like, why would somebody want to steal somebody's identity? You know, that it doesn't make a lot of sense to us. And how are they doing it? And then we quickly became versed on identity theft. And then it spawned into everything else that we're dealing with right now. But it's exploding. It's exploding. And it's not getting better. The losses aren't going down. So it's important for us as residents to appreciate the information that's been given. You know, I could sit here and talk about, you know, hundreds of scams that are out there right now. The most important thing to remember, and just remember this all the time, is when something looks weird, it probably is. When you get a text message that's unsolicited, don't answer it. Don't answer that text. Report it. I mean, I have an iPhone. When I see a text message that doesn't make any sense, I report it as junk or a scam. It's important that we do that. We don't want to be inviting these people into our computers, into our cell phones, because these are things that, as you saw, in a very short period of time, people can lose a lot of money. So, like I said, I could sit here and talk about, you know, 50 different scams, and I'm sure the Beaufort County, that they know a lot more about the scams that I know. But if people have questions, I really would love to hear them. I know law enforcement would love to hear them, and they'll be willing to answer. And if you do want to ask a question, because just like you can't hear us, we won't be able to hear you, nor anybody else in the room. So just come on up front and just say who you are, and if you don't feel comfortable with that, that's okay. And just go ahead and ask your questions. Thank you.
So as she's coming up to the front, I do want to put something out there as well. We also do have some information up here. One of the things that is up here is a card of basically how you can stay in touch with the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. I do understand that some of you in here are on the Beaufort County side of Sun City, and some of you are on the Jasper County side of Sun City, okay? But you may say, well, this doesn't seem like an emergency. You know, how do I get in touch with them? Or maybe it's after hours, and I don't want to call the office because I may not get anyone. So I do have our non-emergency number up here, which is 843-524-2777. I tell everyone, save that number into your cell phone. Okay, save it into your cell phone. But again, if you want a card that has that on here, and it also has all the other platforms that we are on, so you do know how you can get in touch with us. Okay, again, I will say that number is 843-524-2777. That is a 24/7 number, okay? So you do not have to wait to call. Again, have some urgency when it comes down to reporting things. I do want to say, no, you do not need to call us for every scam likely call that you get. You can ignore that, all right? And when he said report it, he means through your phone, not necessarily through law enforcement that I got another scam likely call, because we would be on the phone all day long with that. But if you did lose any amount of money, if you feel you have someone that is a friend of yours that is a victim and maybe they don't want to come forward, Unfortunately, we do have uncooperative victims or people who are too fearful or too embarrassed to report it. Then you can contact us and give us that information. So again, we will be here, but if you want to come down, grab some information, that is fine as well.
We have had so many people here this afternoon to listen to you and get insights on preventing scams. But I have to ask, some of those people don't come, and are they the smart people that think that they're above it? So how do smart, cautious people even fall for scams?
You know, I think, as we talked about in the presentation, a lot of these scams are very much designed to hit you at your weak spot. Yes, especially in the senior citizen population, you know, they're trying to scare you with the fact that maybe your grandchild has been arrested, and so that creates a sense of urgency. And so maybe that creates a sense of urgency where yes, you will do something that you otherwise wouldn't normally do. And the same thing with romance scams, right? That is somebody hitting, somebody's core. The person that we want in our lives is our romantic partner, and if we're lonely, we're looking for that. And so we may take risks that we otherwise wouldn't due to matters of the heart, family, love life, maybe even the desire to be wealthy. That is another thing that I've seen them prey on, of that get rich quick scheme through these investment schemes, jealousy, those kind of emotional things is what they prey on, and people that are very, very bright have taken risks that they otherwise wouldn't have when the scammers are able to kind of touch on that emotional thing that's our weak spot.
Now, you used such I think, interesting analogy that will stick with me forever, and that is the pig butchering. As you talk, some of us are going to be pigs led to slaughter because we're not doing the right things, perhaps. Are there really vulnerability landmarks, things that really do set us up for these?
I think some of it is oversharing your personal information, whether it be on social media or through other platforms. That is opening a door to people that are looking at you and trying to find what is that emotional weak spot for you. I think too, maybe even overconfidence in yourself as you advance in age, because that's one thing that all of us want to remember ourselves as young and invulnerable, but the reality is things do change as we get older. And if one of the things I'm holding in my hand right now is the approximate loss amount in these scams across the population of the United States. And the victims that are over 60 and above, we've estimated it to be $7 billion and some odd. Well, that is about as much as the rest of the victims in all the other age ranges combined. And so there's clearly something going on for whether it's the targeting of senior citizens, whether it's the success of being able to target senior citizens, because as we get older, our things diminish. I'm not as fast as I was. I'm not as strong as I was. And at some point, we're also not as sharp as we once were. And so some of those things come into play here, and it's something that we have to admit. And so I think some of that may be just, controls within your family. Do your kids know what's going on? Are they involved with your life? Do you have friends that are also looking out for you? I think those are things that you can maybe employ to make sure that you don't fall prey to some of these just terrible scams.
Now, we're a lazy society sometimes. Are there quick red flags that we should always be aware of as we see, whether it's our online presence or even an in-person presence?
Yeah, any type of high pressure situation. I think any time where someone says, I need you to give me this money right now to fix XYZ thing, or this is an investment that is only open for the next 24 hours or week or month, what have you. Anytime that I've been personally part of or that precious to me, my answer is always no. Everything can always wait a little bit longer outside of a legitimate medical emergency. So to me, any type of high pressure, high kind of sales pitchy thing, I always say, like I said in the presentation, if you are in control of your funds, be very slow to release the funds. If you do think some sort of mishap has taken place where you suspect a crime or that you have been taken advantage of, then you act very quickly. But when it comes to making investments or handing money out to a loved one that you've never met, like someone that you're interacting with online, I'd be very, very slow to give anybody money without actually having met them or knowing a lot more about them than just a few conversations online.
This is a question we hope we never have to ask you, and that is, If we suspect we've been scammed, what action steps should we take?
So there's a few steps you could take. Number one, you could, we do have an office here in in Mount Pleasant, in Charleston, South Carolina. We also have an office here in Hilton Head. The reality is our employees are not always in the office, so there are other avenues to report them. One of them is to our National Threat Operations Center. That is easily called at 1-800-CALL-FBI. We also have a website, the Internet Crimes Complaint Center, which can be accessed at www.ic3.gov.
Thank you so much for the time you've spent. I think it's a lesson that we continue to need to learn. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone at Sun City for inviting us. Much appreciated.